I want to share an experience I had recently working on a Coda doc with a customer. And the customer, they wanted to incorporate all these different features and workflows into their Coda doc. And I spent a lot of time building the formulas, the automations, all the kind of nitty gritty things to make the thing work. And then when I finally presented the final Coda doc to the customer, the main feedback I got was this color is wrong. This isn't easy to use. This thing is hard to find. And it made me think about what it's like to make something, but then also what it means for someone to actually use the thing that you created. And this could apply to a Coda doc, an Excel file, Google Sheet, you name it. And I want to walk through two examples of kind of what I mean. This is a doc that I helped create a while back. And the main reason why this doc was difficult to do was because it involved predecessors. If you're working on a task list, and certain tasks rely on other tasks to finish, you can't start that task until the previous task has complete because it's a waterfall and there's dependence, that kind of thing. Very typical kind of project management scenario. And I spent a lot of time, almost all this time, kind of making sure I got the predecessor formula correct. And, I spent a lot of time working on these formulas and then making sure that the waterfall with the start date work correctly. So you have more formulas here. And then also even with this predecessor complete column, there's just also a really long kind of hairy formula to figure out. And I felt a lot of accomplishment on my side of being able to create these formulas to make this whole thing work, to allow for tasks with dependencies. This all is actually trivial now because now Coda has built-in dependency management similar to other kind of task dependency tools. But the main thing I wanted to get across was I spent all this time working on these formulas. I was so proud of sharing these formulas with the final customer. But at the end of the day, all they wanted to be able to do was, can I quickly look at this list and know what is the final end date for my project? Or can I easily click on and select which team to use? Are these the right colors to use for the task? All behind the scenes work, all these formulas I created was not talked about at all. All people really cared about, the users of this tool, were simply interested in the usability and the user friendliness of this Coda doc. Moving on to Google Sheets. This is a similar kind of setup as the previous Coda doc, except this is more about project management within a Google Sheet, which many of you might do. And similarly, you have a bunch of formulas here that look up to this table. But the main thing I was really proud about was getting these X's to show up on these columns right here, because these X's represent the dates that certain tasks are happening. And these formulas, they're all kind of pretty similar, but I spent a lot of time figuring out this formula. And once I finished writing this formula, I was so proud of myself. I got the conditionals to work. But again, at the end of the day, someone that's using this Google Sheet, all they care about is, do the X's show up on this calendar, quote unquote, correctly? Is it the right color? Is it the right X format? All that kind of stuff. The formula behind the scenes didn't really matter. Of course, it matters to make sure it works correctly, but from a usability perspective, all that mattered to the customer is, do these dates look correct? Do these X's look correct? Does it function like it's expected to function? And so, again, behind the scenes, I was so proud of the formulas and setting it up, but from the user's perspective, all they cared about were the X's and the coloring and all that kind of stuff. And so if I had to give you some takeaways from this experience working with this customer, especially for this Coda doc, was number one, does your tool accomplish what it's supposed to do well? This could be a Coda doc, this could be a Google Sheet, this could be a project write-up, this could be some code you're writing for some backend. Does it accomplish this thing well? And if it doesn't, then you have to revisit the solution. Number two, is this thing user-friendly? Again, from an Excel, Google Sheets perspective, I love writing formulas and making sure they work correctly. And the only other people that care about those formulas are other people who write formulas, other people who are spending all their whole day building stuff in Excel or Google Sheets. But aside from that, the majority of people that are using your Excel file or using your Google Sheet or using your web app or using your project write-up, they just care about, can I find what I need to find? Can I easily use the tool? And is the formatting correct? That's all that matters. And that took me a long time to figure out because you think that the backend features and functionality really matter, but at the end of the day, the end user is someone who's not that into the weeds of the formulas, of the functionality, They just want to make sure it's easy to use and can be accomplish one thing well. And finally, one of the hardest things for me to grasp over time is don't get too attached to that thing, that tool, that Excel file, that Google Sheet, that web app, that backend microservice. I think we have to get in the habit of knowing that these things are meant to be thrown away and that there are many drafts. I think that the more attached you get to the way you built something, the way you wrote something, the way you coded something, the more you'll feel sadness or disappointment if the end user doesn't actually enjoy the thing. And so this is something I learned quite hard over the years, is being able to let go of the thing you built and being able to get this mindset of like, this thing is meant to be thrown away. The original thing I made is meant to be thrown away. And eventually we'll get to the solution that actually is user-friendly and easy to use for my colleagues or end users. And just want to share these quick takeaways from this experience building a Coda doc for a customer.